Hey guys, welcome back to Chickadee Mountain Homestead, where we reuse, recycle, and make do. In today's video, Eric is having to replace our old well pump. We have been using it for about 9 years, and we have gotten our money's worth out of it.
Yep. So what we have is a rainwater catchment system. And we've got our big tank, and what I was using to supply water to the house was a Harbor Freight shallow well pump, half horsepower motor, and it has a pressure tank on it. And over the years, between freezes and just common uses, wore out. So we decided that we would try, instead of that setup, we'd try a diaphragm pump, which you'll see later in the video, but it works differently, draws less power, the same amount of output on the pressure wise. So I'll show you how I'm setting that up as we go along.
And this Harbor Freight well pump, I will say it has done its job. He has repaired that thing several times. It has froze several times. And what did you put on it?
JB Weld.
Yeah, he put JB Weld on it, and because the first time, or the second time it froze, it cracked at the top where the metal housing is, and
Yeah, and the problem with these pumps is you're supposed to drain them during freezing temperatures because they won't take it. And the one time it got froze the worst, we didn't expect those freezing temperatures. Yeah. It was only supposed to get on to about 35, and got up that morning and it was 12 degrees. So I didn't completely drain the system, and that's where the major damage come from. And it's aluminum and stainless steel were the seam that I have a problem with leaking. It just warps, and as it gets colder, that metal shrinks and just develops new leaks. So it's a lot of hassle. I always talked about building an enclosure, but it just never did because the pump works good. But I just wasn't really situated to where I wanted to mount it permanently, other than what I did. But it lasted, like I said, 9 years. So
yeah, these are designed to be inside like a well pump house, where you can bolt it down and your well pump house be insulated
and heated during freezing temperatures.
But I say we've got our money's worth out of it. It's been a good pump and did what we needed to do. It ran showers, sinks, everything we needed in the house.
Yep.
I'm going to turn you around and show you that pump first, so that way you'll know what we're talking about and we don't get it took out and forget to show you. This is the pump we're talking about. It's just a Drummond well pump that you can get from Harbor Freight. They're not too expensive considering the uses that we put on this one, but I just wanted to show you that setup first before he does the other pump.
And the place I had the failure at was here, where the stainless steel goes into the motor housing. So this cracked here, and there's another crack on the back. So I just loosened this up, slid it out, filled it full of JB Weld, and put it back together. Waited 24 hours, and then it worked. But it's froze again. It's gotten water. You see that crack where it's opened back up. And then the pressure tank is also expanded enough to where it started cracking the paint off. And this has got a bladder inside of it, and the bladder had already failed before the winter, and that bladder creates your pressure. You fill it full of air, and you fill it up to 35 pounds, and that creates your water pressure in the house. And those bladders are rubber, so they wear out. And this one had already failed So we were just using the pump to come on and just run continuously instead of cycling. So we already knew we were going to have to replace this pump this year. So that's kind of the reason we decided to change to a diaphragm pump to try it. Hopefully it works out good. But you don't have the pressure tank. You don't have this big 1/2 horsepower motor. And they're smaller. The pump, and you'll see it later, but the pump, the whole unit is about the size of this motor. So you lose all this weight. And the plan is that I'm going to put it in an irrigation control valve box. Big plastic box.
Right there.
Yeah. This box has got inlets for your supply lines. Got a heavy duty top. And that pops off. Now these are designed to be buried. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go under the house. I'm going to dig a hole, bury this in it, run my water line coming in, and install the pressure tank and the pump in here, because I did buy, which is not required, but I bought an additional pressure tank that cuts down on your cycle time. But it's to where that's 2-gallon pressure tank. This is only 1 liter and something, so it's really small. It just helps save on how often that pump comes off and on.
Yeah, because we remember we live off grid.
Yep. So I did go with the 110 volt pump, because this one was 110, so I've already got my electrical set up. You can buy them in 12 volt and run those off of a battery, off your solar chargers, most solar generators. Most of those have a 12 volt cigarette lighter plug in them. You can run it off of that. So they use less power. Voltage wise, the watts are about the same. So if you're looking at how many watts you're using, if you're on solar or using a solar generator, the watt usage is about the same on that part. So I've already disconnected part of this system. My main concern right now is getting this box in so I can route my lines from our water storage tank over to the pump, and then I just have to connect it to the existing connection.
Go.
And I wanted to thank the people we ordered this from for sending this nice work mat. Since it's nice and wet out here, I got a great work mat that this big box come in to get in here and dig my hole.
Yeah, he's digging the hole under the house, so that way it'll be underneath the house and out of the weather.
That my thought is that that'll, being buried in the ground, you get a more constant temperature, and diaphragm pumps generally don't hold water in them, just a little bit, so there's not that much of a chance to freeze. But I think this will give it enough protection to not worry about it freezing, having to put a light or put heat tape or anything like that on the pump. So that's the reason for putting it under the house. Plus it gets it out from away from, you know, the side of the house. Worry about weed eating around it or anything like that. So my electrical's there, my plumbing, everything will be there except for the water tank. But that's not that big a deal.
The only thing I worry about is if we ever have a leak and it's spraying underneath the house.
Well, it's got a top.
I know.
that big top on it.
That's the only
And
thing I worry about.
These are, like I said, these are irrigation for yard irrigation. So that's what these are made for. And they're heavy duty. It's not really plastic, but you can drive over these things once they're installed properly, because this will be flush with the ground. And me doing landscaping, these are in a lot of my yards, and I drive my mower over them. I've drove my truck over them, and that gives you extra protection. If you did something similar to this and didn't want to put it under your house and put it out in the yard, you have that crush protection. And they are, somehow or another, you can lock these things. I think you can buy a little lock that goes in here if you needed to do that, but I've never done that. And they won't never rot, so they're plastic or whatever they are.
And this end of the house here is pretty tight. I had to, when we first put the house here, I got under there and pretty much dug all the footers, and it wasn't fun. I'll give you a little bit of a shot of him under there digging.
Digging a hole, digging a hole.
And then I'll bring you guys back.
Are you recording?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a tank, and what I've got here is a line that goes in and it goes back down to a soot valve. That's how I pick up out of the tank. Eventually we're going to change it, and we're going to come out of this bottom port and go straight in and over, but for right now, because
We can't take the water out of the tank because we don't have anything to put the water in.
Yeah, the tank's flat full, so that'll be in the middle of the drought we'll do that. So this is what I've been using. It picks up just fine. But my problem is, this is 1 inch, and this is PEX, and this is a PEX fitting. Well, they don't have a PEX that goes from 1 inch to 1/2 inch, because my pump, the lines on the pump are 1/2 inch, so I've got to step down, and the lines in the house are 1/2 inch also. The previous pump required a 1 inch in feed, so that wasn't a problem, but now it's a problem. So what I got to do is I got to step down from 1 inch to 3/4, and then from 3/4 to 1/2 inch. So it's gonna be rigged up, but as long as it leaks and works.
As long as it leaks and works.
Or as long as it don't leak. Don't want to leak.
Sometimes you have to do things like that.
Yeah, but there's several different kinds of PEX fittings. There's short bikes, and I don't completely trust the short bike fittings. They just push on, and that's it. I use a crimp fitting, and I use this style crimp fitting. And they have one that looks like a wedding ring fitting, and it takes a different type of crimping tool. They're a little bit more expensive, and when we bought this, because this is the crimping tool for this style ring, there was only those 2 options, and now you can get electric versions and cheaper versions, but I've got this.
That's what we're going to
use. It works.
use.
I hadn't had any leaks, so that's what we'll continue to use. We bought a kit that had blue line, red line, a bunch of fittings, a bunch of crimps, and a tool, the cutter, pretty cheap off of Amazon or somewhere.
I don't remember because that was 9 years ago.
Yeah.
I can probably go back on my Amazon cart and find it if that's where it was. I know No, it wasn't Amazon. I think it was actually off of the that PEX website.
Now these clamps, they do take a good bit of oomph in a tight spot. You may have to work it backwards. So you do the tight spot and then put it up there and then work your way back where you can't get these in, because if you can't get enough pressure, you won't get a good seal on that. And if you've got a lot of pressure, it'll blow it off right quick. Otherwise, you'll have a slow leak. So. You have me tape measure. It's back over here. Oh, go that way, somewhere. I'd like for that fit to be. We'll go with about 16 inches. And this isn't real, it's fairly pliable. You make turns with it. But once you get to the end of the 1/2 inch, it's a lot more pliable. So, it's easier about routing through walls or whatever. Real easy to cut. It's got a ratchet and pipe cutter. It's getting some age on it. Needs to be replaced. Now this little tool here is a PEX tool. And what it does is it's got little grinding wheels in there. And this size, 1 inch, 3/4, 1/2, 5/8, 3/8, and 1/4. But what that does when you cut it, you leave a burr on the outside, and if you're using sharp bite fittings, they won't go up in there if you don't deburr it. So you just stick it in there, and you may can see the blue coming out. And just a couple times, even though I'm not using sharp bites, I go ahead and do this just in case I have to go back later and put a sharp bite on it. It's done. There it is. Oh, I do need a 3/4 for that side. So I'll get that when I put that on there. That on there. Slide it up. I don't slide it all the way up to the fitting. Because your barb, you want to try to hit the center of that barb.
I'm zooming in so you can do that again.
Huh?
I zoomed in so you could do that again.
What, drop it again?
No, show them.
Oh, on that fitting, you've got that barb, and your ring, you don't want to have it right up on the edge. You want to bring it down a little bit, and you want to hit the center of that barb. Now that's the way I do it. And this thing clicks, if you can hear it, and once you get all the way in, it stops clicking, and it kind of pops like a torque wrench, and you know you've clipped it all the way. If you can see, it hits that when you're done. So if you got to stop in the middle, it'll hold where you were at, and then keep going, and then once you completely clamp, it springs back open. And these short bite or pecs, rings and fittings and all of that stuff, it went down in price. They used to only be in brass, but now you can get them in this plastic. And now there's a PEX and a PEX A. I don't know what the difference is. It tells you on the pipe, most of them, if it's PEX or PEX A. PEX A, you got to have the right fittings, but most of the crimp stuff will go either way.
You're going to the small.
Ring first.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is a 3/4 to a 1/2 inch. So it's big, too smaller.
Oh man. You wouldn't hold your mouth right.
No. Now we're ready to get the 1/2 inch. Here it comes, the handy helpers. Trying to keep the dirt out of that. I'm going to send this one end up to where I'm going.
It's cold. That stuff's not flying as much.
Cold out here. Not too cold, and we're trying to get this done because tomorrow and for
Monday.
a couple of days in the next week, it's supposed to get down to
Teens at night.
teens, maybe single digits, and not above 32 degrees for 2 days. So we're trying to get this in and get it insulated. And I'll probably need some hot towel just go back to the thing later. That's one thing I do like about these is no matter what size you get connector,
The tool always
the
fits
tool
it.
always fits it. And they do have these rings with a little plastic piece on there. When you get to the point where they're set, that little plastic piece will pop off. I've used them. I had some. I mean, they work. I guess some crimp tools you may have don't have that stop to know when it's crimped. And a half inch ones are pretty easy, and that's usually what you might use. We're gonna flex this down. I don't want to put too much pressure on it.
Cow. No.
And my trench, if you can see, is not very deep, but it's 6 inches. Most places, your frost line, you want to be 12 inches below. But the ground, we usually here we have cold temperatures, but not long extended temperatures like you would up north. So our ground usually doesn't freeze below 3 inches. I'm gonna go 6 inches, especially with this short run. I'll pull that rest of that dirt in after I get the insulation on, because I want to run that insulation all the way down. And I don't know the code as far as burying pecks. I don't know if one pipe is, you can bury it or not, but like I said, this is just a little short 6-foot run. I'm gonna bury it if I have to dig it back out later. I don't see it rotting or being degraded under the ground. So that part's done. I'm gonna move over to my box and my pump and get the pipe into the box and then get it plumbed into the pump, and then we'll get it hooked to the house. What I'm doing is these boxes have holes in them, but I taped over the holes because they're for 2-inch pipe. And that's what you usually, yeah. Anyway, and they're at the bottom of the box. I'm about 3/4 up away from the bottom of the box, and I didn't need a 2-inch hole. I just needed a 3/4. I taped the hose up so the dirt wouldn't come in to the bottom of the box, and then I put a thin layer of gravel on the very bottom of this box. I'm gonna try to thread this pipe into this hole and then cut it. Help.
What do you need? Huh?
I got it. I'm getting there.
What?
I'm getting there.
Huh.
Y'all hold that for me. I have to get that twist back in there.
I know. You might have to. There you go. Switch it around.
Now you can see that 1/2 inch is pretty pliable. I've got that in here, now I'm gonna cut that pipe. I'm gonna put a 90-degree fitting on it, and then I'm going to use a different type of pipe other than PEX to connect to the pump. There we go. Let's get that. You can see the pump, the Seafoam or Seaflow professional grade pump. Open flow at 2.3 gallons per minute, 115 volts, 10 amps max. Pressure is 45 psi. You can kind of see it's got a pressure on it. It comes with a little screen. That's on your inlet side. So I'm actually showing it to you backwards of how I'm going to have it in here. But yep.
Turned it on.
So I've got the pump in. There's the box. And you can see the line coming in and out. And we'll you see the pump in there. So going from PEX, I chose a irrigation line that's 1/2 inch, so I'd be able to put a hose clamp, because the fitting there, right there, that comes with the pump is plastic, so I didn't think I'd be able to put a crimp ring on it. But I haven't had any leaks, and you can see that it has a little screen filter on it right there, that filters a little dirt or stuff like that out of the line. And you can see there where I just drilled a 3/4 inch hole for the 1/2 inch line to go through. I think it's upside down, but you can see the name of the pump, but I'll show you the box here in a minute. We're gonna cut it on. There it goes. Now this is the box that the pump come in, and it shows you the accessories. That's the 2 little ears that go on either side of the pump, and the little strainer that goes in between an ear and the inlet. And this is a 110 one. It's 110 volts, like I said. That's all the dimensions, volts, gallons per minute, PSI. It's set for 45, but it is adjustable. 1 amp draw. That's pretty much it.
Turn that back around, and if somebody wants to scan the QR code off the video, they can.
Yeah, there's a QR code. So like, I ordered it off Amazon. It's got a warranty on it. I'm not sure exactly what the warranty is. But that's the pump. I did get a small pressure tank. I think I said that previous in the video, but I just haven't put it on yet because it won't fit in the box there with the pump.
There's not enough room.
Yeah, there's not enough room in that box, so I think I'm going to put it, you can put it in line anywhere past the pump, and it acts just like a regular pressure tank on a well. And all that does is cuts down on your cycle time, how often your pump cuts off and on. But I'll install that later. And it's about the same size as the pump. But other than that, it works. Got good pressure, a lot less power draw. So
Alright guys, thank you for coming along with us with this project. I'm thankful that we were able to get it done before this cold weather set in, and we were able to get us some running water again, because if you know how that feels, it's not a great feeling when you don't have running water. But if you would please subscribe, like, and share, and just as always, we appreciate you coming along with any of our videos. And thank you until we see you next time. Bye.
bye.